Okay, so you just came back from the convention in San Diego.
It was one.
Yeah, how was it? Give us the scoop. Give us something maybe we haven't heard on the news. Like, was there any rabble rousing down there? But more seriously, I guess there wasn't an endorsement for governor. I'm not sure if there was one for senator. I don't know.
Well, here's the deal. So many people know Dianne Feinstein and Kevin De Leon, the Democrat National Convention, did not endorse a senator, a senator candidate. Now, here's the deal: is that in the case of the Democrat Party, they will not endorse unless they have 2/3 quorum from the delegation. And in the case of the Republican Party, that's the same situation there. So, with the gubernatorial race, where we saw that John Cox came up against Travis Allen, there was not a 2/3 majority vote for one candidate or the other. And so as a result of this, there wasn't an endorsement put forth. And I do believe it may be the smartest action on the part of the Republican Party, in that when the party is split that way, where you have a pretty close race, it is important for the people to be able to determine who they would like to support. It's important. Also, I've heard, the flip side to that. Many individuals are complaining that there is not a gubernatorial candidate being endorsed by the Republican Party. And so how are we as a people out here, if the delegation can't come to a consensus, how are the people out here going to then come to a consensus? And, well, that's just part of it. Is, it's all about process, and it's important to that process. And for those people who are complaining, what I would suggest would be, especially if you are complaining outside of California, that's one thing. If you're complaining inside of California and you are a U.S. citizen here in the state of California, get involved in the process, become a delegate, and be a part of the solution. That would be my suggestion.
There you go. Yeah, and I agree with you. You got to let the process play out, and that's the democracy that's been set up, and let the voters decide.
Like the rules, get involved in the game and maybe change them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it'll help with turnout for the Republicans. So I mean,
right. There are a lot of upshots to it.
It's because of the candidates. You have two very different candidates, and one's popular and one's coming on as a populist. So, it'll be an interesting race there. That's an interesting one to watch.
Well, and Erin, I'm sure you would agree, wherever you come down on the political spectrum, people's voices really should be heard. The more choice that people have and the more ability the voters, constituents have to weigh in and align themselves with candidates, I think is a good thing. There's been some controversy about winnowing down. Of course, California has a kind of an odd primary system where it's that final two. But
right. No, that is true. But in the case of, for example, the gubernatorial race, you have two individuals who came up pretty close to one another. And if they had started hammering down on it and they had done a revote, the decision was made to do a revote, and they just hammered it, and they ended up with somebody they can endorse, would it have been the right process? I don't know. The money that's behind the California Republican Party endorsement, it's a lot of funding, and to give a kind of a bullied bolster, if you will, to one candidate over the other when you have such an important race, such a close race as far as the delegates were concerned, I really think it's important that money just not be thrown out there improperly or hastily, and let the people decide. It's important. Now, we saw with Judge Bailey, and I'm not sure if you followed very closely, but with Judge Bailey's race with the delegation, they did go for that second vote. They ended up getting Judge Bailey to the place where they revoted and he came out on top, and they did move forward with the endorsement. It happens, but that gubernatorial race is so vital for the state. I don't know. I'm glad that they moved forward in the way they did.
Have you, and do you mind telling us who you endorse in that gubernatorial race?
In the gubernatorial race, I'll be very specific with you. I support my constituents. I'm running for United States Senate in the state of California. I myself am a conservative. I want to win against the Democrats and the progressives, the progressive Democrats, and Gavin Newsom. Now, not Judge Bailey, John Cox, okay? I support those people who support John Cox. They're my voters. They would be my constituents. And if they back him, then I back them. And the same goes for Travis Allen. But keeping in mind, on my position, I did endorse Travis Allen back in January. I believe he is the strongest candidate. He aligns well with the principles set forth by the CRA and the Republican Party. He has as we've just seen come out, he has a 99% approval for votes in the state assembly, and he's a strong candidate. He has a strong voting record, and I believe he also knows the parties, he knows the players, he knows the people up there in Sacramento who have been bleeding that system dry, and he'll be best to advocate for Californians and get the job done. Now, will John Cox not be any less successful? I don't know. He has run for many offices. He is a very smart man. We know he's done well in business. He's an extremely accomplished person. He's doing well in his race. He, of course, would be much better than Gavin Newsom. So, I just do believe very firmly that Travis Allen is the strongest candidate.